Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
I network. I get out and I talk to a lot of people and certainly a lot of networkers. And everybody kind of has their own take on what it should be and so on and so forth. And none of them are really wrong, right? None of them are wrong. A lot of them end up really kind of saying the same thing. And that's okay. I discovered years ago that I just didn't want to keep bringing people on that said the same thing over and over and over again. But recently I had a conversation with somebody, had kind of a unique take, a unique method of networking. And whenever I run into that situation, it's like, ooh, I got to get you on the podcast. So today I have on here Jennifer R. Glass, and she's the CEO of Business Growth Strategies International. We'll touch on that a little later. But she's an award-winning business growth expert, as well as a TV show producer who works with small to medium-sized businesses to help them find the money they're leaving on the table. Who likes to leave money on the table? She's also the author of multiple works, including her It's the Bottom Line That Matters series. So today I want to welcome Jennifer. Thanks for making the time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here, Frank.
You're a networker. You do a lot of chamber stuff. I guess give us your journey, if you would, and we'll touch heavily on your business towards the end. But yeah, just your journey and how you got into, I don't want to say got into networking, but discovered that networking was important. Is really the part of the conversation.
I guess that's a great way to start. So, like most people, I mean, in college, you're taught, all right, you're going to get out of college. You're either going to go for an additional degree or you're going to get a 9-to-5 job or 9-to-6, whatever your hours, right? You're going to get a W-2 job.
Yep.
And so I went to work for a company and there was no idea of networking or anything else. I mean, the networking that I was doing was I was making sales calls and trying to build a relationship.
Yep.
But when I got out of that position and I started working in a different company, I was introduced because the CEO of the company, he brought me in as his vice president of sales and marketing. This is many, many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And if he couldn't attend his regular group, he asked me to be the substitute. And that was my first foray really into what networking was.
Was it like a BNI group? We can say
it was a BNI. I didn't know if you wanted me to actually mention
that's
the names.
fine. No, you know what? I don't. I'm not like that, right? I believe we landed on the moon. BNI exists. Hey, it's all good. Thank you.
Okay, good. So it was a BNI group, and he was getting a couple of deals every now and then through the BNI relationship. And the rule, of course, is if you can't go, you got to have a substitute attend in your stead. So because we were both in the same company, it really was, we've got the seat in the group, and whether it was him or me going, it really didn't make that much of a difference, but I was attending in his place for a couple of times. So I'm learning the ropes and figuring out what I need to be doing. But of course, though, the group was very specific in terms of its business generation, but the leads that we were getting, because the rules in the group were, hey, cousin, I need another name on the list for tomorrow. Otherwise, I'm going to get kicked out of the group. Can I use your name? And we got a whole bunch of those kinds of networking leads that were coming in. And I realized pretty quickly that something is wrong in the process.
Just to clarify, these are referrals you're getting.
Referrals we're getting, correct.
Okay. All right. So people are doing that, sending you up with their cousin Vinny to.
Yes.
Okay.
No, I have Joe Pesci in my mind, but yes.
Okay. Sorry.
Hey, it's all good. So anyway, as I moved into my own business, one of the things I realized pretty quickly was I needed to surround myself with people that understood relationship working, not networking. Networking, as a friend of mine says, It is, here's my card, let's do lunch. And all you do is you put a lot of pounds on. You
Mhm.
don't really get anything from it because people are going around and that's all they're interested in. In relationship working, on the other hand, as my coach puts it, you have to be like the finest sommelier and always lead with value, right? You're going around, how am I leading with value? What am I giving before I'm taking? And I'm not just saying, here's my card, let's do lunch, because that doesn't get anywhere. It's like I was at an event one time where I spoke, and somebody was literally going around to everybody else in the room. Here's our flyer, here's our flyer, here's our flyer, here's our flyer. And then she walked right away. As soon as she finished giving it out to the group of us standing there, she went to the next group. And the whole point there was she was probably paid just get rid of the 500 sheets of paper that she came in with, and
Right.
then she's done. And that's not doing anything. I mean, all that did was it told me, don't ever talk to this company because they don't value you. You're just another number. And so I started looking, how do I figure it out? And that's kind of the relationship that I took with networking to get me to the place where I am now.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all run into that person that, um, the blackjack dealer. There are all sorts of names for those people, and I wonder how successful those things are. Um, Probably not, but so anyhow. Um, so you've gotten to this place, and you're realizing, hey, networking is, this networking is for real. Now, were you ever in a BNI group? Did you ever?
Like I said, I did it as a substitute,
Oh, but you
but
didn't
I
do it in
never
your own.
actually joined
Okay,
myself.
okay.
I
You
was a
do.
sub for several people, though.
Okay, all right. You do a lot of chamber work.
I do. I'm in my 13th year as the vice president of my chamber.
Wow, wow.
Long time.
Okay. What do you see as the difference between the BNI type groups and the chamber?
So there's a couple of differences. I mean, first of all, in the BNI, it's a lot more formal in terms of the networking.
Right.
Chamber networking is a lot more informal. But again, it also depends on the particular chamber. There's some chambers that are really rigorous, like we're having people come and we're doing this event and it's going to be extremely structured and all of that. And other chambers is a lot more laid back. The thing with the Chamber of Commerce is, though, is that there are no exclusive seats, if you will, in the group. So you can have 10 accountants, you can have 10 attorneys, 10 bankers, 10 candlestick makers, and everyone that's in the group is going to be bringing their own flavor. As I say, life is a smorgasbord, and you bring with it your own past, your own story, your own flavor to the table. And that is what other people are getting from you. So if you're a banker, just like another banker, you can have two business bankers that are coming to an event, but one is going to be focused more on how am I really giving you the value for long-term financial growth? And the other is how can I get you right now through the hurdles that you need in your business? And then we can play very nicely together. Problem is sometimes it's seen as competitive and oh no, I don't want to be anywhere near this guy. I'm going to stay far away. And that's one way of doing things, but then there's another way of doing it, and I say it very often, co-opetition. It's cooperative competition, meaning I have one banker and another banker, they're in the same space. And we've
Yeah.
done this actually in our Chamber of Commerce. We have a banking committee where all of the banks in the chamber are part of that committee and they work with each other. If one bank can't do a deal, hey, I've got this deal. Our underwriting guidelines don't allow us to do it. Can anyone else take it? Or we don't have a package for this particular client. Can anyone take it? I mean, a perfect example, one bank they can do loans under $200,000 and they can do loans over $500,000, but they can't do between $200,000 and $500,000. So
Hmm.
if a business comes in and they need $350,000 to do a franchise build out and all of that other stuff that they need, they can't even touch it because it's outside of their programs that are available. So I actually got a lead when I was offering a line of credit program in
Right.
my business, and I got that client taken care of because we were able to get him the 350,000 line plus a couple dollars more to help because that bank couldn't even take it. So there's ways that you can still look at cooperative competition, just understanding it is not a zero-sum game. It is I am going to remember you when you say, listen, I can't help you. Talk to this person though, because the next time I need it, I'm going to remember, hey, Jeff helped me. And so I'm going to be reaching out to Jeff and saying, hey, I've got someone else. I want you to speak with him too.
I love that word, co-op petition. Is that correct?
Co-opetition. Yes.
Well, all right. All right. I'll get the spelling on that because I want to use that in the title of this. I think it was
COOMPETITION.
All right. I can't spell that fast, but we'll get it when we're done here.
Yep.
I like that word because I used to be an attorney, and that really describes the legal profession. Now, when I first went out into legal practice, I was like, okay, every attorney is my sworn enemy because we're all fighting for the same dollar. And then you realize that, okay, you get that first referral from an attorney who can't do something because if you have a conflict of interest, you can't. And that's, that can be very, it's somewhat well defined. And you don't want to mess with it, right? So I was getting referrals from other attorneys and realizing that there were attorneys who had a conflict of interest, or there was a practice area they didn't want to tackle. And so they were going to hand stuff off to me. And then likewise, I was starting to run into things as well. It's like, I really want to do this, but this is coming my door and it's going to be kind of a distraction. You know what? I'm just going to farm it out to somebody else. And there was, in time, I don't know how many attorneys I had that I was just kicking things around back and forth with. And it was almost like we had our own big firm, very informally. But we didn't, and it worked out really well. And you could end up doing the things you wanted to do. I think the economic term for it is the law of competitive advantage. You stick to doing what you do well, and I'll stick to doing what I'm doing well. And the overall economy is going to be better off for it, as opposed to if somebody's, doing whatever. And people wanted to help those who helped them because then they knew that would kind of grease the skids of reciprocity, if you will. So, all right. Well, when we originally spoke, you have a method of networking I want to really kind of dive into. That was my reason for having you on. We're probably almost halfway through this. We haven't really touched on it, but give, want, ask. I remember having a conversation with you, like, oh, she's interesting. She does a lot of different things. And then you threw that out and it was like, hit the brakes. And I'm like, okay, we got to get you on the podcast. Well, I really want to talk about this. So where'd this come from? Talk about it, please.
Absolutely. So there's a really great way. And again, one of the things, and you mentioned the law of reciprocity, to be involved with, again, relationship working, not networking, it's relationship working. If I can just rephrase the idea here.
Yeah.
So what you do in this manner is you go out and you have three things that you're doing. You're giving your give. So as an example, I have a podcast and I want you to be my guest. That is a give, right? I am giving you a platform for you to be on so that you can get the exposure from my audience. So what am I doing? I'm having Frank on the podcast. Frank is going to be seen. The AmSpirit is going to be getting out there and all of that, and everybody is going to be gaining a value from that conversation. The want then is, hey, Frank, just like you are on my program, I want other people that to be on the show as well. It gets you additional value with your audience, your contacts, because they're going to be seeing you, they're going to be connecting with you, they're going to be really thankful. Hey, he just got me an additional opportunity that I didn't have before. Creates additional reciprocity in terms of the value that you're getting. And then it's the ask, because you always want to be providing value first. So the ask, then the take is, this is what I am doing. And if I can be of service, again, it's not asking outright for a deal, but if I can be of service, this is what I am doing, what I can offer, things along those lines. So whatever your elevator pitch is, tailor it around that in that idea. And so people are then going to be remembering you, because in a crowd of people where everyone else is saying, hi, my name is John Smith. I'm a banker and I help people get their mortgages and everything else. Congratulations. But that doesn't separate you from everyone else that's going around the room.
Yeah.
And you're wondering, what am I doing for dinner? What's on my to-do list? I got to get the kids after school, whatever it may be. And if you break the flow, then all of a sudden people are like, wait a second, she's doing something completely different. Like Frank said, we were talking and then he had to hit the brakes because, wait a second, where did this come from in
Yeah.
terms of, this idea, and move forward from there. So everything again comes back to creating reciprocal value, because if you help me, I'm going to want to help you as well. And
Yeah.
so you lead with heart, you lead with giving, and then people are really going to be a lot more likely to be wanting to work with you.
Yeah. No, I love that. The whole notion of give first is something I try to live. I'm probably not perfect at it. No, I'm not perfect at it. And I have this conversation with my wife from time to time, because she'll talk about, well, you did this. Well, what came from it? And I'm like, well, I will acknowledge that a lot of people are really good at the ask, right? They're really good at trying to get what they want. And it never really comes back to you. And I don't let that bother me. I just kind of move on and just try and find other people. But then there are people in my life who are continually cheerleading, bringing connections. I mean, good sorts of things. And it's interesting. I haven't found a study on it yet, but it's interesting what happens in my brain, or just my whole, I got a friend, Berta. That's how she is. She's just a giver. And whenever she reaches out to me, it's like, oh my God, just this overwhelming feeling of, I don't know, being someone giving you a present, or knowing you have a present, right? I mean, it's just something coming. It's like, oh my gosh, so I totally get that. Now, is this something you'll teach at the chamber, or is this just something that you kind of, I don't want to say keep to yourself? Not everybody gets it, I guess, is the best way to look at it. So you have to find the person like me that it resonates with.
Right. So as an example, when we do certain events and we're sending it out to our membership, as for example, there's an event here, it's called MegaNet. And this MegaNet program is, we go and we're partnered up with, on average, 11 or 12 other chambers.
Wow.
And we do this event at a hotel, where it's a large venue, and we did it in a steakhouse until they really messed up. But lately it's been in a hotel, and we bring all of the members that want to register to come to the event. And we individually, all the chambers handle the registration and everything, and then we just total up at the end with the host chamber. But what we do for our members is we send out a couple of networking tips. So like you asked, will we include it? I write that email and I put in that email, when you go, in addition to having the business cards that people know how to connect with you, please have your give, want, ask ready. And we lay out what exactly does that mean in there, so that people are ready to network. It's not going to be something different because everyone is going over to everyone else at this event. It's not like you go around the room and say who you are. It's, I go up to you individually. Frank, I'm Jennifer. Nice to meet you. What do you do? Blah, blah, blah. You can get pretty quickly through a lot of that and still have absolutely no value at the end of the day.
Yeah.
If you come in though with your give, want, ask, you're going to get a lot more value. And so I work with our members for them to really understand that. I also, in my It's the Bottom Line That Matters book, the first one, I talk about networking or relationship working. I talk about the value and really that give, want, ask idea that you are trying to get through. You're trying to really deliver value. Like you said, being given value first. One of my mentors says, that you want to be Santa, you don't want to be the Grinch.
Mm.
So think about that, right? Too many
Yeah.
people are the Grinch. They're taking, right? And
Yeah.
always taking. I have
Yeah.
one person who told me, "You're a terrible networker. You give me the worst leads. They never want to buy from me." Well, it's not me that's giving you a bad lead. It's you always expecting that the very first phone call is going to be a sold, a closed deal.
Yeah.
And it's not building a relationship. And so, he basically stopped talking with me, and I'm not going to complain because it got to a point where it was a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
But it's that idea, though, understanding where you are and giving the value. And then all of a sudden, people really want to talk to you. If you're the expert, and I want you to think about this for a second, when people see you are the expert in what you're doing, all of a sudden they really want to work with you. Don't hold everything behind a paywall, if you will, where, you're not giving anything because it gets you absolutely nowhere. When people are looking for a cardiac surgeon because they need open heart surgery, they're not going to the first doctor that they see, okay, do this heart surgery, right? They're looking for those cardiac surgeons to find it. You want to be that premier cardiac surgeon that people think you're the expert. That means give a little information and then people are going to see you really understand. And when you give the value, people are going to want to really be working with you a lot more.
Yeah. That's all good stuff. Well, let's shift gears here. You're a great networker, but your business growth strategies international, you do lots of things. You're an award-winning growth expert, business growth expert, TV producer. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about your business. You've given us value. How can people help you? How can we be on the lookout to help Jennifer?
Absolutely. And I appreciate the opportunity. So my business, like you said, Business Growth Strategies International. Don't know why I can't talk today. Um, it is a business coaching company. We've got a marketing agency and a couple of other divisions as well. But it's really ultimately at the end of the day designed to help increase a business's bottom line. And we focus on systems. We focus on the things that we can be doing in our businesses to be making that difference, understanding certain ways that we can really be growing without having to worry, oh no, my business is stuck, my business is this and then everything else, because way too many of us throw stuff against the wall to see what sticks, and then we're surprised when nothing works. So
Yeah.
we work with you to help you install systems to increase the efficiency, effectiveness, and profitability of your business. In the coaching side, really looking at it in the marketing, the 5 key areas that account for 80% of your revenue: leads, conversions, transactions, pricing, and profits. When you understand how that works and looking at strategies like joint ventures and upsells, cross sells, downsells, drip campaigns, things
Right.
along those lines, these really start making a huge difference in your business because too many people just forget, well, I called this person 2 times, never heard from them again, or they weren't available. Well, yeah, because most people don't want to be sold. They want to be helped. They don't want to be sold.
Yeah.
And we are so averse to that. And way too many people also say, contact us, call for a free consultation, whatever. And again, that's code for it's a sales call. So think about what you're doing and changing that. And again, listen to this value. I'm not trying to even sell you. I want you to understand how you can make certain changes. Give the value first. Don't put it in as a consultation. Give me something real. If you're a plumber, tell me here's 5 ways you can avoid me coming to your house with your clogged pipes, right? People are going to appreciate it because when they're dealing with something even bigger, they're going to remember you actually helped them. If you're an electrician, 5 ways to make sure you're not going to overload your circuit breaker, right? Again, same idea. If you're a networker, same thing. What can you do to get the 5 biggest values outside of networking? And then how do you master the relationship working business so that you are going to be seen as the master networker around you? There's so many different ways that you can be putting this out there. And when you give the value first, people really want to be in your sphere.
Yeah. That's a very good point. When when people get into that sales mode, it's off-putting, it's repelling, it's you don't want to have a conversation, but we're always intrigued, like a moth to a flame, when there's something that's interesting to us or something that, I could use that, let me lean in. And that gives you an opportunity to really learn about somebody. So best way to get a hold of you. You have a website, bgsicoaching.com.
Correct.
Get that in the show notes. Can people contact you through that site?
You can definitely contact me through the site, or else what I would recommend you do is also connect with me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Or Alignable. On LinkedIn, I'm under Jennifer R. Glass, and that'll be, I guess, in the show notes as well. What I would ask that you do, though, is when you connect with me, please tell me that you heard about me on Frank's show and what your biggest aha moment was in the episode today. So that way I can thank Frank for the introduction and also know that I actually had an impact on what you're going to be doing moving forward.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AMSPIRIT.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.